Tonight on our news, a sale in limbo? We've got the latest on the Grand Lucayan deal. Plus, a sitting F&M MP is one step closer to a criminal trial. Plus, building a better future for young adults, how you can help the Ranfurly home to lay the foundation. Welcome to our news and thank you for joining us. I'm Natalia Hall. Topping news tonight, the future of the Grand Lucayan Resort remains in limbo as news of another extension to the negotiations for its sale broke early this afternoon. Bethany McDermott reports tonight that these multiple extensions in the due diligence process is causing some to question the security of the deal.
After several extensions to the due diligence period, Lucayan Renewals Holding Limited Chairman Julian Russell announcing the final closing date for the Grand Lucayan Resort has been extended to November 15th. A statement today reads, "We anticipate that the sales process will be completed consistent with our revised timelines." Last Thursday, the special purpose vehicle for the sale of the resort announced the 7-day extension ending Thursday. Minister of Tourism, Aviation and Investments Chester Cooper speaking to the issue ahead of this week's cabinet meeting.
During the due diligence period, the buyer would go and do studies and investigations, ask questions, and come back and seek to negotiate based on the information they find.
When the deal was announced back in May, government said the deal with Electra American Hospitality Group was subject to a 60-day due diligence period, with closing no later than 120 days. Back in August, the period was extended by 45 days to September 15th, and those deadlines have passed. The multiple extensions and failure to announce the closure of the deal have left many to speculate if the two sides have hit a roadblock. While appearing as a guest on the Record this week, F&M Chairman Dr. Dwayne Sands suggesting it's time for a cabinet shuffle, claiming the minister responsible for Grand Bahama has underperformed.
Grand Bahama finds itself with an extension and an extension and an extension, waiting to hear about the sale of our Lucayan, waiting for some repair, even somebody to go and clean up the airport.
Meanwhile, the statement today also reading, the board of LRHL remains committed to ensuring that a credible plan and shared vision for the resort is realized. Reporting for Our News, I'm Bethany McDermott.
Thanks, Bethany. Outspoken Bahamas Union of Teachers President Belinda Wilson securing her 6th consecutive win at the polls yesterday to lead the union forward. This makes her the longest-serving president and executive in the union's history. Wilson and the A-team won 13 out of 15 posts. She says she's grateful for the stamp of approval by members. As for the years-long negotiation of its newly signed agreement, Wilson says her team intends to get the ball rolling on its next industrial agreement before the existing one expires.
What we plan to do, though, in this 3-year period is to ensure that we present a draft to the government, a draft proposal, and we intend to do that in the early part of 2024, so that we will have a proposal on the table with the government at least 1 year prior to this agreement expiring.
Wilson says the union is also preparing to open a new multi-million-dollar complex that's completed within the next 3 months. Additionally, she says the union will focus on training for officers elected for the first time to ensure that they are equipped to take the union forward after this term.
23 years on the executive committee and approximately 30 years as a member of the union, I believe that I've done a lot, and it will definitely be time for others to take the baton.
Now, Dion Johnson, who contested the seat for president, conceding defeat tonight, saying he believes the vote signals the time for change is not now.
At this particular moment, I would have offered myself as a representative of change, and those persons that would have voted for me were seeking the exact same thing. And so those ones that would have voted for the same thing, of course, as we understand life, they would automatically get the same thing that they've asked for.
A teacher shortage over in Abaco continues at several public schools. Director of Education Marcellus Taylor spoke with me on the issue, saying the ministry is addressing the shortage, adding that the challenge may exist for a while.
But we've said this over and repeatedly in the public that there is a global teacher shortage, and because there's a global teacher shortage, we feel it as well.
The education director says one of the many issues is that most teachers do not want to relocate to family islands, adding that proper housing in Abaco makes it even more difficult. However, Taylor says the ministry is doing its part to remediate the situation.
In the case of Abaco, and specifically in the case of Patrick Bethel, we have about 520 students there currently. And if you recall, over the last couple of years, the population at these schools in Abaco is only just building back. And so we've deployed 25 teachers to Abaco who are on the ground right now at Patrick J. Bethel, providing instruction to students. So there are a few classes that are not covered. What we intend to do is to engage supply teachers where we can, until we could get some of our permanent teachers in.
Taylor says they are currently in the process of redesigning the school-based timetable.
So that exercise is nearing its completion. And having gone through that exercise, we were able to make some adjustments to the timetable that permits more students to get instruction than were getting instruction before we did that exercise. So we're confident that in a week or two, we will have all the matters resolved in terms of the complement of staff that we are prepared to dispatch to Patrick Bethel and also Sherlyn Bootle.
Temperatures get up to 93 in the capital today as we head into the weekend. Meteorologist Greg Thompson is over in the Weather Center with a look at what we can expect overnight. Greg?
Thanks, Natalia, and welcome everybody for our first look at weather on this last day of the week, Friday. Nice day around the islands today. Our temperatures, coming down into the mid-80s, 85 degrees outside right now. Not really much in terms of any clouds out there, so we call it few clouds. North-northeast winds at 7 miles per hour, and your feels-like temperature hanging out in the low 90s. Satellite view, quiet across the area. A lot of moisture that was associated with Fiona is pulling out there. There is a rain band that's just east of the southeastern Bahamas, but we do still have some residual moisture hanging around, generating a few isolated showers. Conditions will be improving later on throughout the rest of the weekend. That's your first look at weather. Your extended forecast is still to come.
Still to come on our news, the latest on the case involving F&M MP Adrian Gibson as he gets closer to heading to trial. And the mask mandate is almost over, but the pandemic is still here. One doctor's warning. Plus, the Ranfully Home helps young adults take a step towards the real world. We'll tell you how when our news returns. Long Island Member of Parliament Adrian Gibson is one step closer to standing trial on accusations of corruption while serving as the executive chairman of the Water and Sewerage Corporation. The Free National Movement MP is accused of conspiring with others to financially benefit from contracts awarded by the corporation between 2018 and 2021. Gibson, his cousin Rashay Gibson, Jerome Mizik, Joanne Knowles, Peaches Farquharson, and Elwood Donaldson Jr., the former general manager of the corporation, denied charges of bribery, fraud, and money laundering at an arraignment before Senior Justice Bernard Turner today. Turner said if he planned to assign the case to Justice Cheryl Grant Thompson for trial. Muriel DeSeal, KC, who represents MP Gibson, Knowles, and Mizik, objected to the assignment. DeSeal did not give any reasons, but said, quote, "I would prefer another court." As a result, Justice Turner will hear arguments in chambers on Monday, September 26, before the trial assignment is finalized. Attorneys Raphael Moxie, Brian Dorset, and Donald Sanders said they had no difficulty with any judge. Investigators tonight are still searching for a man they believe is responsible for the country's latest homicide. The victim, a messenger at Government House. Jamila Mizik reports.
Police have identified the man shot and killed yesterday on Mays Close as 42-year-old Darren William Gibson of South Street off Nassau Street. Condolences pouring out on social media for the victim, who our news understands was a messenger at Government House. One woman writing on Facebook, "All I can say is wow, I'm still in disbelief." Another woman writing, "I can't believe this. LL, you will be missed." Preliminary investigations reveal that shortly before 7 a.m. on Thursday, Gibson was walking outside a residence on Mays Close when he was approached and subsequently shot multiple times by a dark man who exited a gray or white van. EMS pronounced him dead on the scene. Gibson's son, 18-year-old Darren Gibson Jr., was killed similarly last July. According to reports, Gibson Jr. was walking on Sandilands Village Road when a silver vehicle pulled up and occupants opened fire on him, killing him. This latest incident is the second in recent weeks of a similar nature. 21-year-old Omar Davis Jr.'s body was found in the trunk of a car in the Centerville community last month. His father, Omar Davis Sr., was killed a few years before. He was murdered at his home on Abraham Street in the Camp Road community back in June 2013. Meanwhile, investigators say they are still searching for the person responsible for Gibson's death. They say the perpetrator, they believe to be a man, was dressed in a blue pants and blue shirt. Police are asking if you have any information to contact Crime Stoppers at 328-TIPS. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jamila Mizik.
A cruise ended early for two New Yorkers after police reportedly found marijuana in their cabin. Police say the 25-year-old and 20-year-old Americans were arrested around noon at Prince George Wharf. The drugs reportedly weighed 17 grams and have an estimated street value of $85. Police also arresting a local couple and another man in a separate drug-related incident. Police say officers from the Central Intelligence Bureau were patrolling the Elizabeth Estates area around 6:30 p.m. on Thursday when they decided to search a black GMC Acadia SUV because they say the occupants were acting suspiciously. After searching the SUV, police say 2 pounds of marijuana with a street value of $2,400 was found and the trio was taken into custody. It's been a month since 27-year-old Rochelda Woodside went missing. Her mother believes someone is holding her daughter captive and is begging them to contact her. Bethany McDermott has been following this.
27 years, I still take care of my child. My child living here, I ain't give her no bill. I do packing job. I bring everything she want. If she buy food, she won't buy food. 27 years, I still take care of her.
More than 1 month after 27-year-old Rochelda Woodside went missing, her mother, Carmelita Woodside, still believes her daughter is being held somewhere.
If she have some money for you, if you ain't use or not, let me know, I can pay for it. I ain't getting but my family. Don't mind you see I poor people, if I get problem, my family come in.
Last month, police released the missing person flyer after she had been missing for days. Her mother now asking the person holding her to contact the family.
Call on private phone. See, when you private phone, your number can't track. They can't see your number. Let she tell me, Mommy, I am there.
After her daughter disappeared, Woodside said she searched police stations and checked the Princess Margaret Hospital, but her search came up empty. Family, friends, and loved ones gathered at her Washington Street home recently for a prayer vigil, all praying for her safe return.
I pray, I get everybody pray. Even people who get no sis pray for her. Even little children pray for her. I know she can because they cannot take her life.
And as the search continues, Woodside says the stress from the loss is affecting her health.
I could drink only tea. If I cook something, if I eat something, I go maybe 10 times. 10 times. Yesterday I cooked 1 plantain, I eat half.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Bethany McDermott.
When Our News comes back from the break, all are welcome. Unvaccinated travelers no longer need negative COVID tests before arrival.
All right, plus Italia coming up in sports for you tonight. We'll tell you all about the Bahamas Government Departmental Basketball Association Championship Game 1. Panthers pulling off a surprise. We'll give you some details on that. And Great Britain's baseball coach says thank you to our Bahamian players. That's all coming up in sports.
Thanks, Marcellus, and how you can help young adults make the best transition from the rent-free home to adulthood. The details when our news returns. This is our news. Welcome back. COVID-19 testing requirements for unvaccinated people traveling to the Bahamas has been eliminated. The Ministry of Health and Wellness making the announcement in a press release saying the elimination took effect on Tuesday. The new policy means unvaccinated and vaccinated citizens and visitors can enter the Bahamas without testing, regardless of their vaccination status. The Ministry of Health also noted that all platforms that capture and report on COVID-19 testing and related data in country will remain in place. Under the old guidelines, only vaccinated travelers were not mandated to present a negative test to enter the country. As COVID cases remain low, the Davis administration relaxed several COVID-19 protocols, including the mask mandate. Masks are now only required at senior care centers, schools, and health facilities. With the Davis administration relaxing COVID-19 protocols this week, some say the end of the pandemic is near. But one top doctor says not so fast. Megan Shepard has her candid comments in this report.
President of the Consultant Physician Staff Association, Dr. Sabrique Rupinder Butler says, as COVID infections and the death rate continue to decline, it's no shocker that the mask mandate will be lifted next month. But as some celebrate, Dr. Pinder Butler says caution should still be the order of the day.
We're still watching to see what will happen. Definitely if you're coming into healthcare facilities and if you're around persons who are sick and those types of things, it's definitely beneficial to still make sure you're protected as much as possible.
When it comes to the vaccination rate, she believes the country has done a pretty good job, but could certainly do better. Pinder Butler adding there are a number of factors in play that could present some challenges.
We know that this is quote unquote our fall season, and we do see an increase in respiratory illnesses in general, even outside of COVID. We also know that everyone is returning for the most part to face more than ever. Schools, businesses everywhere.
And with all things considered, Dr. Pinder Butler says she wouldn't be surprised if the country experiences an uptick in COVID-19 cases.
We're interacting more, we're engaging more, we're not wearing our masks.
And if the country does experience an uptick, she says everyone, including the Ministry of Health, must do their parts. Reporting for Our News, I'm Megan Shepard.
Thanks, Megan. The championship's underway in the Government Departmental Basketball Association. Meanwhile, Great Britain's baseball coach thanking Bahamian baseball players for their help. Marcellus Hall has the details in sports. Marcellus.
All right, thanks, Natalia. Welcome to our sports, everybody. I'm Marcellus Hall. Well, last night, the Bahamas Government Departmental Basketball Association Championships getting underway with Game 1 in the best of 7. Let's take a look. Bahamas Government Departmental Basketball Association Game 1 Championship Series at the Kendall Gymnasium. Ministry of Economic Affairs, Baines and Grantstown Cybots going up against the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Culture Panthers in a very much anticipated series. Panthers pulling off the upset, 89-82 ends up being the final score. Abel Joseph led the Cybots. He had 42 points, led all scorers. Roosevelt Wiley, meanwhile, had 29 for the Panthers. Game 2 of that series comes your way tonight at the gym. Meanwhile, the Great Britain baseball team has qualified for the World Baseball Classic, largely in part to contributions from 6 Bahamian baseball players who took part on that squad's endeavors. Afterwards, the head coach of that team talking about the Bahamian endeavors and certainly praising them for their performances.
Knowing all these boys who played together, I was talking to Albert Cartwright. We were talking about what this means, and talking to Anton Richardson as well. Yes. About what it will mean to have Jazz on the team, and possibly Lucius as well. And a couple of other names that I'm not going to give away in case other people.
You don't want to tip your cap.
People don't need to know all the tricks we have up our sleeve. But look, the opportunity to put a group of guys who played together as children on the field, and let them play the way that they play and be themselves is something I'm really going to cherish.
And there it is, your check on sports for you here on this Friday. I'm Marcellus Hall. Have a great weekend. Back to you, Italia.
Still ahead on our news tonight, we'll tell you how you can help young adults transitioning out of the Ranfurly Home for Children and wild weather in the Atlantic. But will it affect us? Our extended outlook is coming up. Welcome back to our news. Tropical depressions 9 and 10 keeping meteorologists pretty busy, including our Greg Thompson, as activity in the tropics kicks up a notch. Greg has our forecast for the next few days. Greg?
Thanks again, Natalia, and welcome back, everybody, for our second look at weather. We are getting very busy in the tropics, tracking a couple of systems out there. Of course, Fiona is now pulling away from Bermuda and heading towards the Canadian Maritimes. There's also Gaston, which is still a tropical storm. It's still out there in the open Atlantic. Will continue to weaken as it pulls out further into the open Atlantic. A couple of tropical waves, one in the central Atlantic, and then a strong one coming off the African coast. We will continue to watch those as well. But we now have newly formed tropical depression number 9, which is in the Caribbean Sea. This system will continue to track towards the west, and it is expected to move into the Gulf of Mexico over the next several days and into early portions of next week. This one is going to be one that we will continue to monitor very closely, because it's expected to cross western Cuba by early next week. That's a Monday, Tuesday time frame, and then be somewhere near the southwest coast of Florida by Wednesday. And some rain bands associated with that could possibly be affecting us. The National Hurricane Center, actually, some of the models are showing this to become a major hurricane once it approaches the southwest Florida coast, and we will continue to monitor this one very, very closely. As I mentioned, some possible effects across the northwest Bahamas associated with the system by Wednesday time frame. Boating forecast for all areas tonight to tomorrow. Your winds will be out of the northeast to east at 10 to 15 knots, seas running 2 to 4 feet over the ocean, and they will fall light and variable at times. Your high tide will be at 7:07 tonight. Here's a look now at your national forecast. A look at your 7-day forecast. Of course, we will continue to watch the progress of newly formed tropical depression number 9. The weekend looking pretty nice, but by early next week, we expect some moisture associated with that system to start to affect portions of the Bahamas, and we will continue to watch the system as it gets very near us by Wednesday. That's a look at our weather. Make it a safe Friday evening, and have a great weekend.
Thanks, Greg. The Ranfurly Home for Children is laying the foundation for young adults to transition into the real world. Our Megan Shepard was there for the groundbreaking on Phase 2 of the project aimed at jump-starting a fundraising effort.
The transitional homes at the Ranfurly Homes for Children, better known as The STEP, is in Phase 2 of development. 4 units will go up on the property for residents 18 or older. Treasurer Gowan Bowe says this home will be crucial to the young adults as they navigate a consistently changing society without the traditional family support.
It is far more challenging for our young adults as they progress from even those that have the full family structure around them to progress into, I'm going to say, further education, their initial jobs, and now taking part in society.
Merveline Antinor aged out of the children's home last year. She shares her experience living in Phase 1 of the transitional homes.
Mentally, it teaches me how to save. It teaches me how to pay bills like light, food, gas, water, and all them kind of stuff. So it gives me that structure of when I go into the real world, what to do and how to do it.
Director at Private Trust Corporation, Bruno Roberts, says they have an ongoing partnership with the home, donating a 30-seater bus in 2021 and now funds to the STEP.
The total amount of our donations thus far Notice I said thus far, is $204,000.
The groundbreaking launches fundraising efforts to complete the home. President of the Children's Home, Joey Premuk, breaks it down.
The existing phase right now has varied from one tenant to two tenants, depending on the circumstances and the need. But the need is great, so it's most likely 2 per unit.
Now, this is phase 2 of 6, and Premuk says an additional $275,000 is needed to complete this structure. Now, the sooner the community pulls together those funds, the sooner the children can move into this home. Reporting for Our News, I'm Megan Shepard.
Great report, Megan, and thank you for joining us for our news tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Natalia Hall. Have a beautiful evening, Bahamas.